I'm in Waterloo, Iowa. This place looks cute. Wait, where is it on the screen? It's so weird that I have to go like that. Nowhere near pointing. If I point like that, I'm pointing at the actual thing. So that's really weird. Anyway, it's called Lincoln Park Coffee House, and I wanted to check it out. And then, poof, I drove and I parked, and there it was, right across the street from me. And I was actually just following intuition. That happens all the time. I had a map going towards downtown, but then I saw this, but then I didn't know what block it was on. But then I turned off the map, and then I just used intuition, pulled over where I wanted to write my song, and lo and behold, it's in the shot. Oh wait, sorry, it's in the shot. Lincoln Park Coffee House. I have a thing for Lincoln. If you haven't seen it in my many videos about Lincoln, 212 is my lucky number. 212 Trevor Hall was my first college dorm. 212 East 12th Street was my first apartment in New York City, Manhattan. The church I went to right after 9/11, and couldn't go back to my home, and then could go back, but then moved, and it was really traumatic because I lived within a mile of the trade towers when they came down, and then I moved, and then I started going to church again, and that was 12 West 12th Street. Not quite 212, but there were 212s. And the area code that I had for my first cell phone when I was living in New York City was 212. Anyway, and then I moved to Chicago, which was 312, but that's a whole other story. Oh, but I kept living in Lincoln neighborhoods. Lincoln Park, I think, was my first neighborhood I lived in, and then I eventually moved to and settled in Lincoln Square, Chicago, on Lincoln Avenue. Lincoln's birthday is 212. Sorry if I left that part out. Yeah. After that, I got a little more intentional about it, because then I noticed it. After all of that, then I noticed the pattern. Anyway. So now there's Lincolns everywhere. I checked out Lincoln, Nebraska one day and wrote a really sad song. Anyway, I keep kind of circling around Lincolns and never meaning to, and I just pulled in right as I was coming to downtown Waterloo, Iowa. Wasn't meaning to come here. I barely spent any time in Iowa today. A little bit in Bettendorf at a rest stop, and now here in downtown Waterloo, and now I'm heading into Minnesota. But of course there was a Lincoln Park right over there. And here's Lincoln Park. Whatever. Space and time, I'm the light. I'm afraid to be a light, for you to be a light, for dreams to come true through me. The way my end came true because of those before me. Those before me. Take your time, little girl, and find the rhyme you want to hold in your bones, in your soul. Take your place, little girl, take center stage for the whole dang world, for the whole dang world, for the whole world. 'Cause you know you can. treated you the way the whole world will too. It's okay, and it's not till confidence breeds dissonance. Oh, confidence breeds dissonance. Confidence breeds dissonance. Why can't it breed consonance? It won't, or it will. Maybe it will this time. With a rhyme, with the whole world I will rhyme, and you will hate me for it. But I'll rhyme even if you hate me for it. There you go. That's how I feel. And you're allowed to feel that too, if that's what you feel. If you can write songs and move the air and move the feelings in the world and focus on love, because hate doesn't solve hate. Hating haters doesn't create love. Hating the most hateful villains on the planet does not equate to loving the most loving beings on the planet. Those are two opposite energies. Loving Gandhi, loving the Buddha, loving Jesus, loving Mother Teresa, loving my grandma who was a nun, is an energy that I love to feel. I love the people who have spread love, who have done work in the world in the name of love. That's this. And now over here, and I'm not even going to put it in the screen, is hating Trump, hating Hitler, hating villains, hating Obama. I know some of you probably hate Obama. Hating Christians, hating Buddhists, hating Taoists, hating anyone. Hate, 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 hate. If you think you're doing that in the name of love, you are wrong. We don't hate in the name of love. It doesn't work. Try to do it. Try to feel more love today by hating someone. Try to feel righteous love by hating your enemy. Try it. Jesus taught this. It's impossible. You cannot do it. You can waste your life trying to. You will slam yourself into brick walls in your mind, and brick walls in your energy, and brick walls in your feeling of flow. They will feel like writer's block, but writer's block for the soul. And I am preaching, and I hate it when I get preachy. It's not my calling to be hard on you, because I've been hard on myself my whole life, and it has led to feeling small and less than and sad. And I want you to feel your own authority. I just want you to know the futility of hate, because I see it in my peers. I see this sort of like confidence and belief in self that is simultaneous. Okay, I'll give you an example. This one woman who was a friend of mine, a very new friend of mine, about 5 or 6 years ago, decided to put me down publicly in front of somebody for being too passive in a moment where I should have been confident. What she didn't know is that my confidence internally was huge, but I had been abused and broken and beaten down by so many people in this world that I didn't like leading with confidence, because it always made people hate me, including back 5th through 6th, 7th grade, when there were teachers coming up to me, putting on whole school-wide concerts of me and my songs. That made my peers hate me, or just feel like I was different, because I was different. But still, it's like, you don't lead with confidence unless you want to be hated. Look at Jesus. Look at anybody that has confidence. They're not universally loved. They're not even always, I don't know, maybe they are good leaders. But you have to be comfortable being hated. And so this person that was preaching at me publicly and shaming me in front of a person I had just met because I said something kind of self-deprecating, and she shamed me for it and said I shouldn't lead with my business like that or myself like that. And I was like, what she didn't know is that she was trying to teach me about how to be confident by telling me I was wrong to do what I internally felt like doing. So in other words, this entire movement that's happening societally of telling people, be more confident, be more this, be more that, if they don't feel it, then adding the overlay actually doesn't make them more confident. That event 5 or 6 years ago changed my life and made me chase after that woman's approval for about 5 years. And I didn't know I was doing it. I believed she was the authority on how to be confident, and that she had the answers, and that my own version of confidence was wrong, which included the confidence to know not to lead with arrogance, because otherwise I might get hated by my peers, and I didn't want to be hated by my peers in this town. So I was trying to lead kind of softly when I'm actually a pretty intense being. And because she shot that down, I became very confused on how to be, and I even joined an organization where, without giving too many details away, because I don't want to shame anybody else, just to heal from my own shame, but I joined an organization where I sought this person's approval, and in the end, I watched that organization turn on the people who went from being more soft-spoken to being more confident, and then were later accused of being too confident and needed to step back. Those same women were told to step back, and now it was for different societal reasons, but still, it was a slew of don't trust yourself, trust us. But who is that? Who gave that person authority other than me? Me and my confusion and passivity. I gave her authority, and I should have stood up to her and said, no, being self-deprecating is my version of confidence, mixed with, I know that if I get excited about myself too much, you're not going to like me, so I lead with, I know these business cards kind of suck a little bit. I didn't pay for the printing or whatever. And, if the person that I'm talking about right now ever sees this, I'm sorry that I was never able to tell you this directly. I'm sorry that I was never able to tell you that for 5 years you were like a ghost in my head, and I didn't even feel like you were a true friend, because I was just sitting here trying to figure out what was off about the words you were saying and how they didn't match up with my own authentic experience. And so, to all the people in the world, not just this person, to all the people in the world who lead by preaching to others, whether it's to kids or to fellow adults, if you are preaching to somebody, like I am doing right now, wonderfully, ironically, of course, if you are preaching to somebody to be a certain way or not be a certain way, just know that it might backfire. It might backfire very badly. Like if I were to run around preaching like I do on YouTube, but I try not to, but for some reason Waterloo, Iowa is bringing this out in me, and I always blame places for the changes I feel, but otherwise, why do I feel like 6 different people in one day other than the different places I've stopped? It can't just be the day unfolding. I don't write 6 different types of videos when I'm all in one place in one day. If I just hang out in South Haven or St. Joseph, Michigan, the Southwest, that's my new favorite part of Michigan, and I like a lot of parts of Michigan, but that's the part that I'm feeling drawn to call home because it's really part of Chicago, or at least St. Joseph. Anyway, my point is, if I just write a bunch of songs there, they all sound similar. My vibe is similar, my tone is similar, so when I go on drives, it's like a sabbatical. My energy moves with the places that I'm moving through, with the climate, with the feeling, with the people, with the land. I have no idea what's happening. It feels spiritual. And I don't believe that I have any Native American blood. I might, but I know that vision quests and things that are beyond, I'm happy to learn about them, but I will not steal those cultural traditions. Like, those are not mine to steal, so I won't give it a term, but nobody owns the phenomenon of a land and a people and a place and movement having feelings. So that's not cultural appropriation to say I feel differently in different places. And so if you're a person who struggles with how to always be sensitive to different cultures and different people, there are ways to still acknowledge the truth of things you learn from other people without appropriating their culture. So don't ever think that it's as black and white as some voices are loudly proclaiming it is, Anyway, Lincoln Park Coffee House looks cute. Not gonna get coffee there, gonna just get it at a gas station because I'm in a hurry and I don't know anything about the parking situation right here. And also because it's probably great, but I don't really need to have coffee in Waterloo. I'll just have had a song moment in Waterloo and then have kept driving. Aging is really weird, by the way. So is gaining weight and losing weight and then gaining weight and then losing weight and then gaining weight and not knowing if you'll ever lose weight again. These are all my stories, you know, and like people would tell me I have to be proud to be fat. I'm not proud to be fat. Don't apply if you are proud to be fat, you can be proud to be fat. I'm not comfortable being fat. Modern culture is a mind twist. Do not feel like you have to believe the things other people tell you. You feel how you feel. You think how you think. You are how you are. I feel how I feel. I think how I think. I am how I am. And, you know, the most confusing places I've ever been is places where I gave someone the authority to say those things. So therapists and political leaders and spiritual leaders all over the world right now are saying all of these blanket statements. Like we have to feel proud to be blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but if we don't, we don't. And you can actually get messed up for years on something like that. It's insane. So be yourself. Find yourself. If you don't know how to find yourself, I will tell you, for me, it takes tons and tons and tons of like spiritual books and meditative books and really being in my skin. I've said it a million times. It's the same few people. I do read the Bible. I read the Old Testament for context and the New Testament for hope and feeling a unity with the world. And because whether or not you believe in Jesus doesn't matter, whether or not I experience the New Testament as a higher power attempting to move through the world and create unity. It doesn't have to do with everyone choosing to follow. It has to do with everyone being welcome to follow, if that's what they feel. But that doesn't help my anxiety because it's an intense book. So the Bible doesn't help my anxiety. So then I read Eckhart Tolle to get in touch with my inner life, a new earth. I don't like that he disses the Bible. He does a lot of the time. I read Taoism. I've been reading the Tao Te Ching for 20 years, like on and off. Always brings me peace. I like the Ursula K. Le Guin edition the best. I read Pema Chodron. My two favorites lately are Fail Again, Fail Better. That's like a commencement speech she gave once. That one's excellent. And then also The Places That Scare You. I think that's my other favorite. But I've read a bunch of hers. What else do I recommend? I've been using the Bloom Therapy app. Also great ways to get out of the anxiety of being alive in modern culture. Because the Bible won't help you with everything with modern culture. You can see it in some churches that are getting absolutely tangled up. To the point where I think some churches are getting like straight up taken over by evil. And I do believe evil is real. And I do believe the devil is real. It's live and lived spelled backwards. It's something in the universe turning everything around and making everything not what it was supposed to be. So when I think of things backwards versus forwards, some things, some wisdom things, certain witchcraft things, certain prediction and knowledge things are going to tell you that backwards and forwards is the same. It's not. Knowing the ending before you know the whole story is, in my opinion, like a tool of the devil or something. Because, like, you are not supposed... Did Jesus like knowing he was the Son of God? Like, there's so many things out there that are, like, creepy. You're not supposed to know. Like, I've heard stories, like, horror stories of people, like, in the Masons and all these other, like, secret groups, secret societies, knowing all this secret knowledge. And it's, like, creepy level stuff. Don't dig into it. Being innocent, being unaware of your own future, being wholesome, praying, give us this day our daily bread. The main two things that I follow and pray for is I use the Lord's Prayer. I say the Lord's Prayer. That has almost everything in it. Thy will not mine be done. I don't know this place. I don't get what to do. That's one. And the other is Psalm 23. Because I constantly feel like God is putting me in places where I feel And so I just, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I mean, this whole world is the valley of the shadow of death. We are all going to die. That's horrifying. That's a horrifying prospect if you really get your heart into it. Everyone you know and love is going to die. Listen to Sufjan Stevens' Carrie and Lowell, the most profound album I've ever, most life-changing. Listen to Joanna Newsom's Divers. Some people don't like the sound of her voice, but that was a lot. Thanks, Waterloo. Okay, well, have a great day. And that's not all the books, and that's not all the albums. And listen to my music if you want. I would say my most spiritual album in terms of soothing for anxiety is Make Believe. And I would listen to the 2020 remix if I were you, because it's a little better. Brian mixed some of it, my partner, Brian Ralph, of Cloudlight. He mixed some of it, and then I mixed the second disc. And added some little things, just kind of made it a little bit cleaner. But otherwise it was released and written and released in one weekend in late 2017. So it was kind of sloppy on the first release. I don't know. Someday, maybe by the time this is released, 6 months from now, my album Everything's True is going to be up. And that is very much about healing and soothing anxiety. And there's going to be, well, it's already scripted and the bones of the album is done. And there's a very comforting ukulele song called Full of Beauty, about how hard it is to just be an adult. But there's also these like 2 13-minute long, or one's 11 minutes, one's 13 minutes, almost 2:12. These long songs, and both of those are about being in this very difficult world and dealing with pain, fear, anxiety, life. I'm proud of myself for sharing all that stuff that I just shared. It's very hard for me to be myself. And if I can learn to do it here on YouTube, then hopefully when I'm in person with people, I can refer to my own work, or I can refer to work that's helped me, or I can refer to my actual beliefs, or I can refer to how I feel spiritually, or I can refer to anything, or I can just pull out a ukulele and make up a song. And that's partly, honestly, that's me YouTubing in a nutshell. YouTubing for like 4 or 5 years now. Vlogging, vodcasting, whatever you want to call it. That's it in a nutshell. I knew myself, but I was terrified to be myself around people because I feel like it just left wake after wake, destruction wake, My personality has always been bigger than most people enjoy or know how to relate to. So, that's okay. Or people dislike actual things about me, and that's fine. I mean, I don't mean it's fine, it's horribly uncomfortable, but I guess I just mean, like, that's allowed. I dislike things about people, too. But anyway, I think my last video was about that, like, how hard it is to be different, blah, blah, blah. I'm not mocking myself. I like myself. And you should like yourself, too. You really should. You should find ways to relate to yourself, because maybe we were sweet little souls and we got to choose things, gene pools, experiences, who knows? And if that imaginary little dream that I just made up is true, I've made it up before, so sometimes it feels true, but it's really just a memory of a thing I imagined before. But if that were true, then you would be something you would like and be interested in. So get to know yourself. See what you like. See who you are. Don't negate things as simple as like watching romantic rom-coms, or like watching comedy, or just really liking a sport, watching disc golf, just being into simple casual things. I honestly think my life has gotten better now that I'm taking music less seriously. Like, I'm taking certain projects more seriously, but in a slow, spacious way. I'm letting myself take as long as they need. And if I die before they're done, which is my recent fear, as I mentioned in a video earlier, like if I die before the things that I'm hoping to do with my life are done, which isn't even just these old albums from 2014 and 2015, but it's like projects I've never even imagined because I've always left my slate so full, which is like a weird thing that being in the spiritual hotbed of Michigan has done to me. But like, it's not Michigan's fault. It's like I could have left, but I fell in love there, and I I don't know. This guy almost hit me. He pulled over like really sharply. That was weird. It's a sign. No, it's not a sign, but I think I'm gonna go. I'm in Iowa. I talk differently here. It was so strange. More bluntly. I hope I carry this with me. I try to remember to carry things with me, but remembering to carry something with you and actually still experiencing the energy are two different things, unfortunately. But hopefully the accumulation of truth makes it harder for me to lie. Like ever since I admitted to my sister on the top of almost the top of one of the collegiate peaks in Colorado that I was secretly arrogant. Like I know I have talent and skills. I trained for like 20 years on piano and I can write any chord I hear in my head. Well, not perfectly. And then I always would try to downplay it, but it's like, no, you are secretly arrogant, so just admit it, you know? So when I started admitting it and working with it, I kind of started to see, as a woman watching me talk to myself, it's important to see ourselves honestly, even if the things we see are kind of gross. So I started working with my own arrogance and seeing how that kind of rippled and played out in groups and different settings, and remembered the story of 5th grade a little differently when I was in 5th grade, and I was like, I wrote the graduation song. I was Alice in Wonderland. I was a big, I had a school-wide concert because I wrote a song for my friend who died, and it was like, and then they were just kind of celebrating me, and then they also wanted me to write the graduation song, and it was just, it got a lot about me, but it went from my private world to being something that my peers were supposed to or expected to be excited about too, and they were for a minute, and then they weren't, because they should be excited about themselves, you know, not about their random peer who was like an A student and getting a lot of teacher love. But being asked to like coach 8 of my peers in 4-part harmony, 2 kids per part, was like probably not the best idea, no offense, but if you're a teacher, maybe don't put kids in charge of other kids. It made them all call me a B word, and I probably was just being obsessed with getting it to sound right, and they weren't getting it because 4-part harmony is really hard. But I don't know. I mean, we were at like an arts public school, but it was an art school, and we did 3-part harmony all the time, but we worked on it for a long time, and they didn't give me that much time, and I was not a teacher. I was a 5th grader. So from a very young age, and then I won a statewide songwriting award right on that same year, and some Renaissance award, split with my now co-brother-in-law, and my brother had won the award the year before just by himself, and I remember feeling like I had failed somehow by sharing the award instead of winning it like my brother did. It was just gross. There was just so much like arrogance mixed with self-pressure and demand and expectation mixed with just my natural effervescent want to make up songs self, and then just kind of bringing that to the light of my peers and realizing people don't like it when other people shine unless there's something inside of it for them to do and them to be in charge of. And if it's them either just having to listen or just being told what to do, most people don't like that. Why would they like their peer to do that? I've even been in plays where I was the director and everybody had about this size part, and then one person in the cast, it was a musical I wrote in college, and nobody was hating on me that I can remember, although I think my notes were kind of long and I was rambling, but one person had a part this big, and I remember feeling like the cast just didn't like her as much because she had so much more, either because she had more stage time or just because there's just a difference. She had so much stage time and they were all in this world and she was in this world, and it was just like not great. I felt bad for her. Luckily, I knew how to be oblivious and just head down and just get the work done back then, but I've woken up in a lot of ways. I'm not as able to be oblivious as I used to be able to be. Anyway, I could just get coffee here. And they probably have a restroom. Wait a minute. Monday to Friday, 7 to 4. Saturday, 8 to 2. Sunday, closed. So they've been closed for hours. Sitting here debating whether or not to get coffee shop at a place that's closed. I mean, the little twinkle lights are on the window, so that's probably why I even thought of it. Well, anyway. I want to like tell more so that I'm not leaving on such a disparaging of myself note, but Waterloo, Iowa, you've been enchanting, charming, strange, small. This downtown is really cute, but it also is a city that's falling apart. I thought I was going to talk more about that. As I was driving in, I felt really sad. I felt sad for society. I felt sad for communities. I felt sad for my own hometown, Racine, Wisconsin, because I felt this sense of like things that are blamed on a city are not the city's fault. It's not the residents of the city's fault. It's evolving culture and changing demands. And if you look back like 100 years or 50 years or even 30 years at how industry changes and how what the demands are changes, and people, individual people, and also systems can't keep up with learning what are the new changes of an evolving society. And it's just not fair. And we should not be angry at the poverty class, at poor people. We shouldn't be angry at the working class. We shouldn't be angry at anybody. Like, people don't know what the heck to do. And I'm just so frustrated that I don't know. This is a much bigger topic. I just feel bad for people. And I know I just brought up the like giving quarters to every homeless person I saw when I lived in Chicago and worked downtown, and that didn't make me feel better because I had all my debt to pay too. And I just, I don't have money. I have more debt than I have savings by 400 times. Like, I don't know how I'm getting out of that debt other than just that my life has to just keep chugging forward while I just pay it off by working. I don't have anything. So why am I the one feeling guilty? I'm working class. I'm poor class. I am low class. I am making zero money off YouTube. Zero. I make zero money off Bandcamp. I make about $100 or $200 a year off Bandcamp. I have patrons. I have a couple really generous ones. But I make $117 a month on Patreon. And then I make about $30,000 a year as a piano teacher and ukulele teacher and songwriting teacher and all those things. But that's poor class. That's poverty class. I'm poverty class. I just look different because I live my life differently. I value different things, and I make enough money or live freewheelingly enough about not worrying about savings and instead going to visit my brother, even though I just visited and saw his kids 3 months ago. But I'm going to go watch their dog while they go on a fancy trip. He's invited me on them once or twice before, so I'm not complaining. And why should he have to invite me with his family, But I'm just saying, like, I don't have things at all. I make different choices, maybe. But some of it's privilege, some of it's luck. The thing I said in a video maybe 4 or 5 videos ago is like, don't hate the solution to the problem. No, it was like, don't make the solution the problem. That's what it was. It was a central Indiana thought. Don't make the solution the problem. So someone walking around on the street, getting alcohol, asking for money, looking for drugs, the alcohol, the drugs, that money, the begging, those are the solutions. I know they look like the problems, but those are the solutions. What's the problem? The problem is deep. It's systemic and pretty terrifying. And you can be like me. If you want to break up your money into tiny little 25 cents and give it to an artist here, an artist there, a poor person here, a poor person there, then that's the poor supporting the poor. But we know what the problem is. It's much bigger, and it's systemic, and it's very ugly. And it's much bigger than anything I can even really ramble about. Way beyond me. I don't think I'm supposed to know. Or if I am supposed to know and call it out, then it's just, it's greed, it's wealth, it's desire for things I have never had, and I will never align with those things. If I ever had millions upon millions and millions and millions of dollars, it wouldn't just be sitting somewhere building more wealth. It would be being spent on like artists I know, or like on musicians I know, and it would be being spent, and I would be, yeah, I'd probably still do all this, but I've always been able to do this with a $30,000 a year job. So people are afraid to call out rich people. I read this somewhere. They're afraid to call out rich people because they don't want to kill the opportunity that they themselves may someday be rich. They don't want to call out the only thing that they have to hope for and look forward to. That's why I read somewhere, poor people don't just band together against rich people. Who actually knows? Just seeing if this coffee shop's open. Nope, it's not. Oh, it's like a bar and grill down the street. Anyway, some cool looking people just walked by. Welp, that was much longer than I meant to do in Waterloo. It is 6:30 Minnesota time, and I still have 3.5 hours of driving. 10 p.m. at the earliest. That's what I guessed. I'll probably stop again, though, because I like Minnesota. And I need coffee. That was a heavy one. I don't know whether to thank this town or be mad that I stopped. I just was following what felt like God. When I follow, when I listen, when I feel guided, that's the most important thing in my life. So to all my family and any friends who don't understand me and how I live my life, that's it in a nutshell. I feel guided. I feel guided while I'm writing a song. I hear words flowing through. I hear chords flowing through. I'm making a few choices, but it's not choices. It's guidance. It feels like the muse. It's what is the opposite of writer's block. I have the opposite of writer's block in my songs, and I have it in my life. And that's why I don't know how to give good ETAs, and that's why I don't know how to explain what I want to do with my life or where I'm going or what I'm going to choose on this, because my life feels guided like the muse, like God is talking to me, like angels or God or something very holy, very present, very reverent, very wholesome is constantly guiding me forward in a very loving way and making me feel like it's safe to follow God. It's safe to follow God. It feels unsafe because it feels kind of like being a pawn and being asked to be used for God. It does feel weird. And most people I know, that's the feeling that tips them over towards being curious instead about tarot cards and Ouija and witchcraft and stuff, because you feel in control and you feel like you're the one leading that. But I did all of those things. I even tried to sell my soul to the devil once when I was living in a haunted place and I was being abused and screamed at every night, even during a panic attack. Because I felt like God had abandoned me, and I remember yelling out loud. I mean, I never actively tried to sell my soul, but I know I allowed myself to even be possessed by something one time. It was really creepy. Living with somebody who watches constant ghost shows and probably was inviting demon spirits into our apartment for those 9 years. Like that, I felt stuff. I felt really, 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 really bad stuff. Most of the time I fought it, either with like 4 different 12-step programs or church. I fought it as hard as I could, but a couple times I felt some darkness trying to take over my life. And a couple times I allowed it because I didn't believe in God anymore. And that doesn't mean I didn't believe God existed. It meant I didn't believe God cared about me anymore. I didn't believe that a loving God would be letting my life go as badly as my life was going. But that was wrong. That was wrong. My life was going badly because of my free will, because of my terrible choices, because of my defiance and my anger and my F you to God that I was doing all the time when I was younger. Going out drinking, getting drunk, making terrible choices in a cumulative way. In college, granted, because of pain in ways that I was wronged, in ways that I was hurt. But late high school into college, I was making terrible choices that led to me being abused, which led to me be like physically abused really badly, and then also other stuff when I was out of college, like verbally abused, mentally abused, with an alcoholic. It was like, and that made me feel like God didn't love me. It's like, no, I didn't love me. I didn't love me. I had already been born again. I had already felt forgiven for some of the really bad choices I made when I was 16 and 17. And then I felt like a born again. I felt forgiven. And then I noticed it was uncool to believe in God. And I just started turning my back on everything that had ever helped. It's like, it was my lack of faith. It was my lack of faith in me and in God. And it was my unwillingness to feel led, because part of the things that turned me away from God was when I felt so close to God that I felt God guiding me to leave this really junky boyfriend that I was with when I was 17, and I didn't like the message I was getting. I was getting a very clear message not to be with that guy. And then the same thing happened when I was finishing college. I was with another guy that wasn't right for me. I wrote a song about it like back way before I released any albums, and I think it was called Bathroom Floor. About every 3 months on the bathroom floor, I would be on my knees sobbing, saying, God, should I leave this person? It was right out of grad school. I was living in Chicago. It was post 9/11, and I did leave this person later, so it's not a mystery who I'm talking about. I was with him for like 4 years after grad school, and he almost proposed to me. And I healed that. There's a video about that in here somewhere. I think the song is called Galena. If you want to see me heal my heart or watch my heart heal in real time in Galena, Illinois, it's a really intense song. And if you just type in Jessica in the Rainbow Galena, you'll find it. Anyway. But 3 months. Every 3 months on the bathroom floor, I was sobbing. I wasn't trying to be down on my knees. I wasn't feeling close to God then. But suddenly I would be every 3 months. Maybe it was every Mercury retrograde, and I would get really introspective. And the whole time in between the times on the bathroom floor, I knew I was supposed to leave him, but I just didn't know how to do it, because I tried to when we were first dating the first month, and he didn't listen to me. He called me shallow. Like as if the only reason I wanted to break up with him was because we were so extremely far different in heights, which obviously wasn't it, because me and Brian are far different in heights, and I'm madly in love with him. Like, you're allowed to trust your gut. You're allowed to know what you want. You're allowed to break people's hearts. You are allowed to break people's hearts. In fact, it's better if you break it in that first month when they're really pissed at you than drag out a 4-year relationship and then still break their heart after they've invested all this life with you. And the same goes true for the other side. Let people break your heart. Let people who don't want to be with you walk away from you. Let them go. If they don't want you, that's not going to be good for you. There's no way to rewrite it so that it will be good for you. And there's some times where maybe someone's just about to make an impulsive mistake. Fair enough. Give it time. Don't do anything urgent and sudden, but preachy, Jess. Well, anyway, I guess I'll go get coffee and hit the road. Thanks, Waterloo, Iowa. As usual, Iowa, very wholesome, but somewhat aggressive vibes. I always feel more aggressive when I go west. I don't know how I feel about that, but it used to make me want to move west. But it's strange that, I don't know. Maybe I'm just supposed to travel west, not necessarily move west. I don't think I know this side of myself well enough yet to really handle what comes out of me when I go west. I always have really deep and profound experiences that it takes me like months to sort out when I go west. So yeah, that doesn't sound like a person who needs to move west. That sounds like a person who needs to go west, figure some stuff out, and yeah, that's about it. This is so long and I really need to drive. Goodbye. Have a great day. Chocolate says goodbye. Goodbye and have a great day. So long. So long.